Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen dumps cookies on the floor, gets forced to clean up after herself. After that, Karens want a male server. And after that, excuse me, what have your brother and mother done to deserve an invite to your wedding that I haven't? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to clean up her mess. How dare you! So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen dumps cookies on the floor, gets forced to clean up after herself. The grocery store I work at instituted a policy that lets us stay open an hour later for medical professionals and emergency services. You know, nurses and the people who respond to 911 calls. We close to the general public at 9. And from 9 to 10 is supposed to be a time for the aforementioned people to come in and shop unobstructed. Also thought I'd mention that we open an hour early for senior citizens. Unfortunately, Karen had her own interpretation of this policy. We've got me. We've got entitled mom, Karen, typical haircut, mid-30s. We've got the manager, 6'5", easily 300 pounds, West African immigrant, not the type of guy you want to mess around with. It was 9:45 p.m., 15 minutes until close, and I was restocking eggs when entitled mom pushed her cart, filled to the brim with groceries. Her newborn baby was sitting in a car seat in the front of the cart. Entitled mom. Ahem. Me. Hello, ma'am. How can I help you? Where are the cookies? They're in aisle 12. Would you like me to take you to them? Yes, that would be good. Since aisle 12 is pretty far from the eggs, I decided to make some small talk, since we were trained to do that. Me. I think it's really great what you guys do for society. Entitled mom. Thanks. So, you are a nurse? Oh no, I'm a mom. Moms are the most essential workers, wouldn't you think? We weren't allowed to call people out for not being an EMT or something, so I agreed. We got to aisle 12, and she started taking cookies down from the shelf and putting them in her cart. As she was walking away from the shelf, she bumped it with her cart, and the entire shelf of cookies fell down. I had spent an entire hour leveling that shelf, and now all of my efforts were gone. And instead of apologizing and helping clean up, she said, "Oops, I'd help, but I have to get going. My kids are waiting at home," and just walked away. Just to clarify, the shelf itself didn't fall down, but all the cookies did. I knelt in front of the pile of cookies, defeated. I started putting the cookies back up as her cart squeaked away. I would have gone after her, but my store is very committed to the whole "the customer is always right" thing. I started putting the cookies back up, which would honestly take another hour and a half because of the sheer amount of cookies on the floor. About 15 minutes in, my manager comes by and freaks out about the cookies, but then he realizes, TFLJ Martis wouldn't just knock down all the cookies, right? So he asked me, "What happened?" Me. Some lady bumped her cart into the shelf and everything fell down. Manager. What? Me. Yeah, so I'm cleaning it up. Don't worry, I'll be fast. Manager. Oh heck no. Where did she go? Me. Down the aisle. He took off, like sprinting. I didn't follow him because I wanted to finish the cookies before my shift ended. So the following interaction is secondhand from one of the cashiers. He managed to catch her going out the doors with her cart full of groceries. This was about 10:05 now, past close. Manager. Hey, you. Yes? My stalker tells me you made a mess in my cookie aisle. Why? I don't know what you mean. I wasn't even in the cookie aisle. Manager. I can see the cookies in your cart. I'm sorry? I need to go. I'm an essential worker. Manager. What kind of worker? A mom. Manager. My mother, back in Nigeria, she worked 12 hours a day after my father passed, and she still had time afterwards to clean up her messes. Entitled mom. No, really, I have to go. Manager. Go clean up the cookies. But who will watch my baby and my groceries? You can bring it with you, so your baby can learn how to take care of his own messes. Entitled mom reluctantly goes with manager and comes over to the cookie aisle where I'm still slaving away. Manager. TFLJ Martis, get up. Me. Okay. Manager, turning to entitled mom. Now clean up the mess." It took her until about 10:45, but it would have been a lot longer if manager hadn't felt sorry for her, and so he and I started helping her. At the end, she apologized to me and manager, and she actually paid for some of the broken packages. We helped her take her groceries to her car, where she apologized profusely again. I'm happy there was actually a good ending to this, and Karen ended up learning her lesson and apologized. I just wish it was like this for every Karen. So Karen, would you have helped clean up those cookies if you were the one who knocked them over? Oh, come on, Mr. Reddit, you know me. So I'm guessing you wouldn't? Of course not. That's what employees are for. Karen wants a male server. Alright, so this happened back in July. A little background first. This is the first steakhouse in our wine industry-driven town. We aren't even a year open. I was part of the beginning staff members that helped open. It's a little controversial among the locals because the company adds a 20% service charge already added on. It's a part of a large corporation on the other side of the mountains, and it's just a company policy. Servers technically get 15%, and then it's supposed to go to the kitchen and bussers and hosts, and it helps pay for health insurance. All lies. Anyways, Fridays and Saturdays are super busy because it's prime rib night, so you have to be quick to flip tables. So I, 28 female, worked as a bartender and server in the bar section because I was good at flipping tables. One Friday night, I was sat with two Karens who clearly had too much work done and very flirtatious with the guys. You can probably see where this is going. Me: "Hello, are we still waiting for two more?" Karen 2: "Yes, we are." Me: "All right, can I get some drinks for you? Bread or appetizers while you wait?" Karen 2: "No, we'll wait." All right, fine with me. I'm busy. I'm about to be in the weeds. So great, take your time. Then I got a four-top that was sitting right next to the Karens. I go through my usual spiel with the specials, blah blah, and then I ask if I could get some drinks going, and I can't remember their answer because all of a sudden I hear, "Oh, so they get service, but we don't?" Me, swearing in my head, calling them all sorts of names, putting on my best customer service smile, and I ask, "Oh, can I get some drinks going? Are we still waiting for two more?" Karen 2, clearly embarrassed, I called them out, and the other table heard. "Oh, no, we aren't waiting for any others, and we're still not ready." Through my gritted teeth and best smile. "All right, I'll be back in a few." I pull the settings and head to the bar, which is about 10 steps away. I put down the extra settings, turn back around, and one of the male servers is getting their order. My restaurant manager, who hated me, snapped at me. Restaurant manager: "Why is so-and-so taking their order? Why aren't you doing that? Why can't you do your job?" Me: "Well, I just asked if they were ready and they told me they weren't. I was literally there 5 seconds ago, so I don't know what's going on." He always gives a disappointed shake of his head. The server comes up to me, hands me the order. I'm mad, rightly so. I get their order in and go back to check in with them, and they just brush me off like I don't even matter. Then the general manager is making his rounds, but he only talks to people he knows or pretty women. The next thing I know, he's coming up to me full force. Now the general manager is the Gordon Ramsay of this town, and he's tall and has this disappointing look all the time. Everyone's scared of him. You can't please him. He's not pleasant to work for. I have another story about him. I overhear them dragging me through the mud. Karen 2: "We haven't been getting service all night." General manager takes 2 strides over to the bar and says, "They just told me that they hadn't been getting any service. What the heck is wrong with you? Why aren't you serving them? What is going on with you?" He said a lot of other choice words. I'm gapping like a fish. Thankfully, the head bartender steps in and goes to town. Head bartender: "She has been serving them. She goes over and checks with them all the time, but they're being rude and clearly don't want a woman waiting on them. She's been doing her job, and I don't know if you noticed, General Manager, but we're really busy. So if you don't have anything else to say, can we get back to our jobs?" I was like, "Oh, you got served." The general manager took over their table for the rest of the night. Thank God. Man, those sounded like some horrible customers. They did nothing wrong. They simply wanted a male server. Well, Karen, sometimes we can't always get what we want. Not true, Mr. Reddit. I always get what I want. Especially at the expense of others. Am I right? Now you're starting to understand. Excuse me, what have your brother and mother done to deserve an invite to your wedding that I haven't? My dad met and took up with my stepmom when I was 3. My bio mom had disappeared off into the big blue ocean on a yacht for the 3rd time, not believing my dad when he said, "If you leave the kids and I again, we are done." By the time she returned 3 months later, my stepmom had decided that this rather wealthy, handsome, and charming man was a catch and sank her claws into him. To her credit, she was also taking care of 3 kids, 3, 4, and 6. However, at this time, we had people to do everything for us. Nannies for us kids, a chef who everyone called Fish, people to come clean the house. There was a ballroom and a library and a giant teak spiral staircase. Yes, it all sounds so grandiose and silver spoon, and it was. But we lost all our money by the time I was 10 and lived in a tiny house, and Dad had to work disgustingly long hours in order to keep the family afloat. Stepmother Dearest floated from fancy to fancy. One minute she's opening a coffee shop. The next she is selling aromatherapy oils, or she is selling swimsuits and sunglasses. Basically, my dad would bankroll these ideas in the hope that she'd start contributing to the income. But everyone in the small community disliked her so much, they tended to avoid her. That is, except the men she was hooking up with. She had a lot of affairs, to the point that even I, an oblivious kid, and still a pretty oblivious and trusting adult, thankfully my husband is a good person, though he does love to jump out at me from behind doors and almost make me wet my pants, understood that there was something not right going on. Eventually, she went one step too far, and my father finally left her, in the pettiest, most perfect way. 6 months after this, my eldest brother got married. She attended with her son, my awesome little brother in tow. I wrote about this in a previous post, so we'll shorten it here. She basically wanted to bring my 11-year-old brother to an after-party at my house, cried and stormed off when she was told no, had spent all her money on wine at the bar, and so a family friend had to give her cash to make her take little bro home in a taxi. After this, she told anyone that would listen that I'd made her so unwelcome that she wouldn't be attending my brother's other wedding in the community we are from. However, the reason she didn't attend was that she had expected my dad to pay for her to go, and he told her to buzz off. After this, I went no contact with her. I moved from Australia to England for love. After 5 years, the man I moved here with proposed, totally unexpectedly, because we were quite happy living in sin and we just bought a house. Considering all the family from Oz would be coming, and I have a ginormous family, likely because there's not much else to do where we are from, we set a date for 18 months' time and notified everyone quickly so that flights and accommodations could be booked. I set up a group chat with everyone invited so that those who were coming could discuss who stays with who, make plans for trips out, etc. Little brother is in the group. He's 17 and finishing high school, living with his mother. She doesn't believe in privacy and accesses all his messages. She obviously finds this chat and starts to go frisbees. I receive an email from her. It is long, even longer than this mammoth story, and full of passive-aggressive digs. She was livid that she wasn't invited. My favorite lines from it were the following. "I just want to know, what is it that your little brother and your biological mom have done for you to support you and your relationship that I haven't done?" I took great pleasure in replying. Little brother is coming because he is my brother. Bio mom is coming because even though we have a fractious relationship, she has reached out to me with love and apologized for her behavior. And, I quote directly from the email, "She gave birth to me, and that counts for a lot. I just had my first child. I was willing to forgive the sins of my mother after she did that 3 times over. You are not coming because even though I attempted to build bridges with you, you willfully ignored my olive branch. I am happy to work on a relationship again, but you need to admit your behavior has been downright BS." Ladies and gentlemen, she was speechless. At last, I assume she was, as I received no reply and no further contact. Little brother said that she told him she's not buying me a wedding gift. Terribly sorry to inform you, ex-stepmother, we requested no gifts. All we wanted for our wedding was to have the people we love there. Guess we got the gift of your absence, though. When was the last time you went to a wedding, Karen?
Oh, my eldest daughter just got married in April.
Really? How did it go? Oh, it was awful. The cake was despicable, the music was trash, and nobody even looked at my dress. Well, did your daughter like it? Oh, how the heck should I know? Why would it even matter what she thought of it? If you don't like it, quit. Message received loud and clear. For almost 8 years, I worked at a popular US chain restaurant which specializes in breakfast food that may or may not heavily feature various flavors of pancakes. Over time, several managers came and went, but the one who stuck around was the ladder-climbing, brown-nosing GM, who we'll call Hope, a narcissistic control freak, mommy dearest knockoff. Hope had the most grandiose opinion of herself. She had a way of making please and thank you sound like forget you. I did my best to get along with her, although when dealing with someone who thrives on conflict, the best often isn't good enough. She made it clear. It was her way or the highway. Her oft-spouted catchphrase was, "If you don't like the way I run my store, quit." Among Hope's countless trademark annoying traits included breathing, coming into work wasted, and talking smack about everyone to guests and staff alike. She often delivered orders without allowing any response, then concluded those interactions with, okay, as if that couldn't get any more obnoxious. Her faux sincerity was almost always accompanied by an annoying crypt keeper cackle. Then she'd roll her crap brown eyes, toss her mouse brown hair over her shoulder, and walk away. Funny story. One Christmas, I was unlucky enough to draw Hope's name for the Secret Santa gift exchange. I seriously considered buying her a batch of wire hangers with a card, simply saying, "No wire hangers ever." I decided against it for the simple reason that it was no secret that I did not like her. It would have been totally obvious who bought her the gag gift. I was one of those highly valued employees, but the way I was treated completely belied the compliments and accolades I received, such as my schedule being flipped without my consent, day off requests being denied, while new employees, usually the married and/or single moms, and Hope's drinking buddies got preferential treatment, always taking the side of the guest when they were angling for a free meal, etc. Perhaps the worst was the bullying and pettiness among certain employees. It was like high school. For example, once another employee poked me in the face right in front of Hope and Sunny, the drunken assistant manager. I filed an official complaint and nothing came of it. This is one such occasion where they couldn't claim ignorance. My complaint made it real and they had to address it. Address it they did. They saw me as a whistleblower. Neither Hope nor Sunny could have cared less about staff morale. It was typical of both of those embittered hags to accept hearsay as fact. They rarely did their diligence in getting both sides before plotting a course of action. Oh, and plot they did. Unfortunately, the following shows they responded to my complaint to workplace bullying with malicious intent. It was at this point I began receiving customer complaints. Most of the time, Hope and Sunny would take the word of the so-called customers or the service passing on the complaint without offering any proof of a discrepancy had ever occurred. I later came to learn that complaints were completely fabricated. It was really a coworker just trying to stir the pot. This whole horror story came to its climax when a crazy, now former employee circulated a rumor that I refused to wait on an elderly African-American military veteran because I was prejudiced. Being one myself, I respect all veterans. This accusation was out of character and completely out of the blue. It reeked of sabotage. It was too outlandish to be anything else. So the write-up came. I was absolutely furious as my suspicions that I'd been set up were confirmed. Both Hope and Sunny would not let me get a word in. I finally got their attention by stating in a raised voice that I had a right to have my say. Surprised at my assertiveness, both went slit-eyed and rather smugly said, "Go on." I pointed out to them that all of my guests love me. Several of my regulars are Hispanic or African American, and in nearly 8 years of employment, never once had I been accused of being prejudiced or bigoted. I also pointed out that one of my regulars, a married African American doctor, if my hands were free, would run up to me, give me a big hug, kiss me on the cheek, and hold me so tight I felt like I was being suffocated. Hope and Sunny were having none of it. I also pointed out that the drama-starting liar who filed the complaint against me had been fired. Given her predisposition to lie, the validity of her accusation should be questioned and the write-up destroyed. Based off their surprised expressions, it was clear I had exposed their complicitness in creating a hostile work environment, but they refused to take the bait. Completely done with it all, I flat out bellowed, "I am not, nor have I ever been prejudiced." I'm pretty sure the entire store heard me. Then I went for the zinger that lingers. "You have no idea how many black guys I've dated." You could have heard a pin drop. Amanda, the Creole prep cook, was walking by the open office door when I let out that line, and she nearly doubled over with laughter. There were 2 training managers facing away from us while they were on the computer doing online courses. They almost collapsed onto the keyboard, then turned around looking at me with shocked expressions on their faces. Sunny's face went beet red, Hope's face turned white, and her eyes widened. "You know what, Hope? Remember how you said if I didn't like the way you ran things, I should quit? Goodbye." I didn't give them a chance to respond. My shift was about to start in less than 7 minutes. I took off my key fob, laid it on the safe, emptied my apron, put everything in a takeout bag, did an about face, and walked out echoing, "Have fun trying to cover my shifts." It was exhilarating and liberating all at the same time. It was like the end of Private Benjamin when Goldie Hawn walked out of her wedding and threw away her veil. Except I've never worn a dress. Just kidding. Yes, I have. Aside from returning 2 weeks later to get my final paycheck, I haven't set foot in there. I have no reason to go back. I have a new job at a wonderful company with great bosses that value me as an employee and as a person. I actually look forward to going to work now. I never thought that was possible. Double plus, they don't expect me to be an emotionless robot. So Karen, have you ever been so upset that you quit your job on the spot like that?
Job? I've never had a job.
Really?
No, why would I? Do you think I'm some sort of a peasant?
Oh, come on, Karen, that's not very nice. Most of us have to work. There's no way we're gonna get everything we need in life by just complaining to the manager about it.
Oh, don't be so hard on yourself, Mr. Reddit. Perhaps you just need a little more practice.
Karen needs to mind her own business. As mentioned in prior threads, I'm a grocery/delivery vendor who stocks brand-specific items for supermarkets, but am not employed by any of the stores directly. I have a route of stores to visit and pull products from the back of a specific brand of food and refresh the supply. Most name brand beer, sodas, chips, snack cakes, and other brands employ their own workers who aren't store employees. After reading this subreddit a bunch, I've started to scope out where in the store the over-the-counter reading glasses sections are in case I encounter any of the extra special host beasts who insist that specifically I must help them, so I can lead them there to help them pick out a pair. Yesterday at Walmart, there was a little old gray-haired man shopping who would occasionally head spasm rather violently like he had just been stun-gunned in the neck, and each time would shout very loudly. I know from watching a cute TikToker who has a less severe form which resembles his motion that this could simply be Tourette syndrome. People with this seem to have a signature verbal yelp, but don't have any cognitive choice in what the yelp is. The TikToker has a pretty cute yelp and explains some aspects of their own variety and experience in some posts. So this guy wasn't hurting anyone, but would, just occasionally, jerk his head very violently but catch himself each time and would shout at a really high volume in the moment of surprise. As he went around shopping, he could be heard making this shout from 8+ aisles over. He wasn't interacting with anyone, just minding his own business and going off a shopping list like any other person. He came down on a somewhat crowded aisle I was working on at the time, and I just let him be, but saw the other people staring and giving him some space. I understand also that some who have this experience a higher frequency of tics if under additional stress than just the normal frequency alone, such as by being judged in public by it, so I just let him do his thing. As he rounded the corner out of sight, a few people who were near me on this aisle muttered that the man was obviously crazy and that he shouldn't be out in public and might hurt someone. I explained a little about the possible condition and that this could actually be a pretty big milestone for him personally, being brave enough to go out in public and trying to control it, and being able to handle the stress of the stares and whispers, and that if people could stop talking about him, it could actually help reduce his outbursts, possibly. One feral snob of a lady comes over to me a little while later after he had moved on several aisles over, clopping in her business Karen shoes the wrong direction down the aisle and not wearing a mask, naturally, and on a mission. She sternly barked at me about him and told me that he needed to be removed because he was frightening other customers. I told her politely I wasn't employed by the store and that I didn't have any say in who gets removed. I tried explaining that I hadn't seen any frightened customers myself yet before getting cut off as she flapped her mouth blubber at me again about how concerned she was that he was going to hurt someone and that he didn't belong out in the public. I was tempted to say that if anyone needed removing, it should be her, via her own 2 cloven hooves right out the door with that attitude. I was under a time crunch and didn't really have time to find a ladder to climb up in order to clock one across a chin that high up in the air. I just dismissed her away again, that I am not employed by the store, there's nothing I can do about it. I stated that I had seen him for about the past hour and he hasn't made any sign of hurting anyone, and that he's just, and then glared at her with eyebrows raised and leaning toward her, minding his own business. She squinted at me and scowled, and then clopped away and I didn't hear anything from her again. My main regret was not having available time to ask him if I could gather up what was left on his shopping list or help in some way. Carry on the good fight, Mr. Man. I'm on defense for you. Wow, my heart really goes out to that guy.
Oh, whatever. If I had been in there, I would have dragged him out myself.
What the heck?
Especially if my angels had been with me, they could have been scared.
Which could have been a perfect opportunity for you to explain to them that sometimes people have certain conditions that make them do things like that. You know, teach your kids.
Why would I do a thing like that?
My husband is an attorney. I used to work in the electronics section of a toy store. The holidays are, to say the least, a tad busy, you know? Especially with the amount of sales and whatnot going on. And we had a lot of sales. Our sales items, especially for video game accessories, tended to go fast. The problem came when there were items similar or comparable. One would be on sale, while the other wasn't, and it made a big mess of things. A lady came in one day, packed store and lots of chaos, and one of the things she picked up was a video game controller cover. I scanned the item and it comes up as $14. That doesn't sit well with her. Lady:
The sign says it's $12. Why are you charging me $14?
Me: The sign is for a similar item, not this item. The sign even indicates the manufacturer. Lady:
Well, this controller cover was underneath that sign, and I want the discount.
Me, calmly: Ma'am, I can't give you that discount. Customers pick up things and put them down in the wrong places all day in this store. We can't give discounts based off of that. I couldn't even make the computer process the discount if I wanted to.
Don't argue with me. My husband is an attorney. Get a manager to fix this.
Me: Ma'am, it's going to be a while before a manager can get over here. Even then, she's going to say that you can't get this discount.
Call them over. They will fix this. My husband is an attorney.
I call the manager over and proceed to be absolutely useless. I can't leave my register to help people because I'm already mid-transaction. I can't scan her next item or delete the item I just scanned. Dumb safety measures. And it's taking forever for a manager to come around because there are people who actually need assistance. All the while, the lady in front of me is staring at me, muttering nonsense and reminding me over and over that her husband is an attorney. I'm just sitting there, wanting to snap back with, "And he's going to sue a store for a matter of a $2 discount?" Of course, he was stupid enough to marry you, so maybe he will. Either way, I'm darn sure we can afford better lawyers than the lady who can't fork over $2 extra, but I keep my mouth shut. My manager comes and listens to the lady. To my horror, she approves the discount and immediately leaves because she's flustered and doesn't want to deal with her. I scan the next item from the cart. Lady:
That's not the right price either.
Me, having had enough: It's not on sale. These are right over there. Points. And the price is displayed clearly. If you want this changed too, I'm going to have to call a manager again.
Lady: Fine, I'm done. I don't want any of it.
She leaves her few items at my register. I have to call the manager back over to cancel out the sale and take the stuff to be put away. My manager is, of course, miffed that the lady was able to waste so much of her time. Oh, and no, we never heard from this mysterious attorney. Karen, I gotta say, this story really reminded me of you.
Oh, how kind of you, Mr. Reddit. Thank you. I really admire how she was able to get the discount.
Karen, that wasn't supposed to be a compliment.
It's just too bad she aborted her mission like that. I would have demanded the manager again and demanded more compensation for everything that cashier put me through.
I guess it's a good thing you weren't there that day, Karen.
You got that right, Mr. Reddit.
Entitled Mom takes a $5 tip from an ice cream shop. First post on this subreddit. This is for the Army. So this was a long time ago, when I was about 11 or 12. Now, unfortunately, this mom is my mom. I love her, but at times she can be pretty entitled. This story needs a little backstory, so here we go. When I was 11 or 12, I was in Southern California with my mom's side of the family. My parents are divorced, so my dad was in the Midwest at the time. My dad is a really good tipper at restaurants. He's given people $100 tips. He tries to give people a good amount if they give him good service, 10s, 20s, 30s, and 40s. We're not super rich or anything, but he tries to help people out if they give him good service. He understands people have mouths to feed and rent to pay. However, if you don't give good service, then no tips. So as a kid, I'm used to seeing my dad give people good tips and inherited that from him. When I was in Cali, my dad still sent me money because I was there for the summer. It was about $40, which was a lot to my little kid brain. I didn't spend it recklessly because I was always one of those kids who saves up. Now that that's over, on to the story. I was at this beachside series of shops with my family, which consisted of my mom, entitled Mom, me, and my cousin. There were others, including my entitled grandma, but they're not important to the story. So because it's Southern Cali, it's naturally very hot, especially in the summer. There was an ice cream shop nearby that my mom said we could go into and get something. So Jay and I go in, order our ice cream, and I tell her that I'm gonna pay. The lady who gave us our ice cream was super nice, so like my dad, I wanted to tip her. They had this cute mason jar for tips. I used a 20, and the amount I got back was $5 and like a quarter. So I put the 5 in the tip jar, and the girl was really surprised. She kept asking me if I was sure I wanted to give her the tip, and I said yes. So I left with my cousin and told my mom about my good deed. She had the opposite reaction I had hoped for. She yelled at me, saying I had wasted $5 and demanded I go back in and take the money back. When I refused, she dragged me into the store, told the lady I meant to give her a 1 and that I was confused, and made me put the money back in my purse as she dragged me out without leaving her a tip. If that lady ever sees this and we meet again in some strange way, I'll give you a 20, and sorry about my mom. Anyways, I hope some of you guys like this story. How much do you usually leave for a tip when you go out to eat?
Tip? What a tip?
You know, like the tip, like thanking the waitress or the waiter or the...
Oh, I don't believe in that. They should just be thankful that they have a job.
Karen, you're so mean.
Well, you're so nice, and I'm not very fond of nice people.
Well, I love nice people. And speaking of nice people, Karen, go ahead and do us the honors of welcoming our newest channel members.
I'll do it this time, Mr. Reddit, but only because the support of these wonderful people is how we feed our cats. Huge shout out to Lola Campbell and Lycaos05. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Join as a channel member today, and I'll give you a special shout out in our next video. And if you'd like me to make a special video for you, come visit us on Fiverr. Link pinned in the comments below.
And shoutouts to our Regenerals of the day, Davey, Cassandra, and Maciel.